I grew up in a huge 17th century house. Here's some pics to give you an idea about how creepy and beautiful it was. Today it's been completely remodeled on the inside, but while we lived there, it was still in the beautiful old style with art, ballroom, marble floor halls, statues. You get it. During my 9 years living there, I found out the following thing. It was once a brothel. It was once a plague hospital. It was once a normal hospital. It was once a morgue. During World War II, it was a German SS post before half of it got shot to shit and killed about 20 Germans. Fun thing was, the mortar that did that fell in the place my room was at, where the SSers were having a meeting at the time, they think. Napoleon slept there a couple of days, which is pretty cool. There were 3 families where multiple murders occurred inside the house. Here are my accounts of growing up there. As a kid, I saw a lot of shadows, heard a lot of weird noises, the usual. My sister, who lived on the 3rd floor, came down to my room a lot at night to stare at me, sleepwalking, and sometimes slept in my room and forgot about it the next night. The doors creaked and opened and closed on themselves a lot, which can happen in an old house due to draft. Now, this is all stuff that any kid can imagine due to the suggested state an old house can give a person. Nothing really scary. Also, the alarm went off a lot during the night, triggered by air maybe. One time, my parents were in China for business. Me and my brother and sister slept at other places because my parents were away for quite a time. I had to go to hockey practice, but I forgot some gear, so me and my friend went to get it. The house was engulfed in darkness and very silent. As we walked out of my room, we hear footsteps in the attic. 2 of my siblings had their bedrooms there, so I thought one of them was home. I shouted at them, which made the footsteps stop. After 5 seconds or so, we heard the footsteps coming closer to the stairs and actually setting foot on the very old wooden creaky steps, 1 step at a time. I actually felt a weight setting foot in front of me. Very strange, but I saw nothing. Nevertheless, we were 12, so we noped the fuck right out of there. Outside, my friend had a total nervous breakdown because he saw some scared face/form that looked like an alien to him. He never set foot in my house again. I credit it all to the creepiness of the house, but that one night with my friend still gives me the chills. So 2 weeks before we moved, my dad and I toured our house and I noticed this guy was painting the water heater, which I thought was really weird, but I was like 10, so whatever. Anyways, we moved in on a Wednesday and my parents let me stay home from school until the following Monday and preoccupied me with coloring books and a new dollhouse. In my brand new crayons pack, there literally wasn't a blue crayon, like it was a 64 pack, but there was only 63 crayons in it. One day, I went downstairs into the basement and my blue crayon was next to the hot water heater and scribbled on there it said, "Hi Anonymous dash Kevin." I was so confused. I started school and my new classmates were like, "Oh my god, do you live in Kevin's house? Your house is gonna be haunted." It turned out that Kevin was a little 8-year-old boy that lived in our house prior to us and he got hit by a car in the front yard. He would write notes if you left out a pen and paper, open and close doors, adjust the thermostat, the kind where you had to turn on the knob, and always turn on Christmas music when it was that time of year. We had a swing set in the backyard and even on the hottest, calmest day of the summer, only the left swing would be moving back and forth. We had this dumb cat that I would lock in my bedroom at night and every morning. My parents would open the door and let him out, then close it back. One night I woke up and the cat was meowing at the door and it woke me up. But the door opened and the cat hissed and ran out really fast. I asked my mom the next morning why they didn't close my door and they said they didn't open it. The last story is when I was very upset and nearly suicidal one year during Christmas break and the police just randomly showed up in my house. The policeman said he was patrolling our neighborhood and felt like something was wrong at our house. I'm absolutely certain Kevin had something to do with it. I lived in an old haunted house in college. Things got weird, so everyone moved out except for me and a roommate. Here's a few stories. I woke up at 3 a.m. because my roommate's door kept opening and slamming shut. From bed, I yelled for him to stop only to realize I was the only one home that weekend. As soon as I yelled, the slamming stopped, but the hippie beads I had hanging outside my door began to sway perfectly, yet violently, against the door frame for a half hour. While I debated if I should pop out my air conditioning unit and jump out the window, I lay in the fetal position in bed until it stopped. I woke up at 3 a.m., alone again, hearing the Nintendo on the back porch playing loudly. I figured a drunk kid came in and started playing it. I grabbed a bat and walked towards the back of the house as the music got louder and louder. As soon as I opened the door, it was completely quiet. Mind you, it was loud enough for me to wake up. I had friends over and told them the house was haunted. No one believed me, so I asked the ghost to do anything to prove it was there. As soon as I asked, all the lights in the house began to flicker about a minute straight or something. This was the middle of the day and everyone who witnessed it. Almost everyone who stayed at my house had sleep paralysis at least once. Every time something spooky happened, the house would smell like old lady, flowery, strong perfume. This house had a door built into the flooring that led to the basement. We always had a rug covering it so no one knew it was there. Things would constantly go missing in the house and turning up in the basement. This house had a coal chute from when it was heated from coal back in the day. Missing stuff would always be placed on the chute for us to come and get it. Roommate had some issues. Once while playing video games late at night, he saw a mist kind of hovering from the kitchen then move into the bathroom. The bathroom had a trap door that led to the attic, and that's where we figured the old lady ghost likes to hang out. Roommate was up late. He went to go lock the doors and turn off the lights. When he turned his back on the room and walked to the door, someone breathed into his ear like, he thought it was me, but I was sleeping, and he ended up turning around, pissed himself, and ran to his room. He was too afraid to come out and turn off the lights and TV. Loud thumps in the attics at all hours. For peace of mind, we told ourselves squirrels must have gotten there. Voices would wake us up in the middle of the night. I spent many mornings on the front porch waiting for the sun to come out before I went back into the house. Coincidentally, I had a friend years later that rented from the same landlord. Same town, but just different house. Where he and all his roommates moved out because that house was also haunted. I didn't think it was too weird until he was telling me that when all this weird stuff happened, it was accompanied by the old lady flowery stinky perfume. Also, a lot of people had sleep paralysis in the house. I am typically a skeptic and can usually apply logic to a situation and figure out a plausible explanation. When I bought my house, they had to disclose reports of paranormal activity concerning the house. I thought, yeah, whatever, but entertained it in good humor, even addressing said ghost by name. There's nothing concrete that I can tell you, nothing hovering in the air, no furniture appearing on the ceiling, nothing that shows any type of blip on anyone's typical paranormal radar. However, the number of times I've had to rationalize an event or come up with explanations for why or how something happened borders on obsessive. The typical footsteps of stairs, children laughing before I had children, knocking on walls or doors. Hey, it's an old house, creaks, groans, hot water pipes pinging, etc. It all happens. Light bulbs smashed on the floor having removed themselves from the metal base. One plant in particular that would get overturned often, on one occasion ending up halfway across the room. The stereo turning on at random times of the day, almost always to classical music. So frequently that I would just keep one classical CD in a random slot in the CD player just to see if that was the one that gets played. Various lost objects showing up in highly noticeable places, like how can you lose your watch in the middle of the completely cleared kitchen table, yet after half an hour searching, there it is. But the ones that get me the most are the ones where I'm completely stumped. On the same day every year, there's a smell of something burning. It can only be detected in only two specific but unrelated parts of the house. You can even define the limits of where you can smell it by walking around. After about 2 hours it goes away, until the next year. The other one is the presence of hotspots in the house, not by temperature, but when you stand in a certain place, you just feel something. This has been witnessed by people aware as well as unaware of the phenomenon itself, and some of the spots have a direction associated with them. When you stand in one, you feel compelled to face a certain way. I watched a police officer get completely freaked as he turned in mid-sentence to stare at the wall, looking it up and down, and then took 2 solid steps backwards while looking at the floor. When he turned around, he was visibly shaken. But hey, no spinning chandeliers or dead girls climbing out of television sets, so I guess I'm good.
Definitely elevating for the 966. The ill suicidal liable to take titles and make vital signs, but not like no cancer. Answer, there's no chance to advance to ya. Kuya got blazed through ya. The great super science, applying pressure. I desecrate with double O's and bubble foes while I cut you, bro. I juggle flows that goes ballistic, reminiscent of exquisite cannibalistics and a sadistic doctor. My sick shit, notcha, improper. Got clockers like bad